What if I told you Max Verstappen, Red Bull's golden child, is about to race in Ferrari red? What if I told you this is not Formula One, but something even more shocking? What if I told you Red Bull themselves are backing this defection to their greatest rival? And what if I told you this could change the way drivers manage their careers forever? Imagine the scene: Max Verstappen, the untouchable force of modern Formula One, the man who turned Red Bull into a dynasty, stepping out not in blue but in Ferrari red. For decades, Ferrari and Red Bull have embodied opposite poles of racing's fiercest rivalry. One defined by heritage, passion, and drama, the other by ruthless efficiency, innovation, and dominance. Yet here we are, staring at the impossible, Verstappen crossing that line, not in whispers, not in speculation, but in reality. The most loyal soldier of Milton Keynes strapping into a prancing horse. How can that not shake the very foundations of motorsport? And then comes the twist. This is not a Formula One transfer, not a betrayal of contracts or a mid-season coup. No, it is something far stranger and more shocking. Verstappen is not abandoning Red Bull, he is expanding his empire. Behind the wheel of a Ferrari 296 GT3, he will enter the legendary Nürburgring Endurance Series, tackling the Nordschleife itself. The Green Hell. The one circuit that terrifies even the bravest professionals. And he is doing it wearing Ferrari colors. The headline almost writes itself: Red Bull's champion, Ferrari's driver. Who saw this coming? For Formula One purists, this is an earthquake. Active world champions rarely, if ever, risk stepping outside the bubble of the Grand Prix calendar. They are shielded by contracts, corporate politics, and the fear of injury. Yet Verstappen is tearing down those barriers with the same aggression he shows on the track. Think about it, the most protected driver in the sport, the face of Red Bull's global brand, giving himself to Ferrari, if only for a weekend. Is this arrogance? Is it genius? Or is it simply the purest expression of a racer who cannot be confined by one championship? The questions swirl, and every answer makes the story bigger. But there is a deeper scandal hidden in the details. This collaboration is not just about Verstappen driving a Ferrari. It is about Red Bull approving it. Yes, Helmut Marko and the Red Bull hierarchy have given their blessing, breaking decades of unwritten law in Formula One. The idea that a champion could race in the livery of his team's ultimate rival would have been laughed off as fantasy only a few years ago. Now, it is happening with cameras rolling and sponsors cheering. Red Bull sees no conflict, only opportunity. That tells us everything we need to know about Verstappen's power inside the team. Who else could bend contracts this way? And then there is the symbolism. Ferrari and Red Bull, two enemies locked in eternal battle, now sharing space on the same machine. The iconic prancing horse merged with Verstappen's personal branding and the Red Bull identity. It is an image so surreal it borders on sacrilege, yet it perfectly reflects the new era of motorsport. An era where marketing, contracts, and tradition can be reshaped by the will of a single superstar. Verstappen is not just racing a car. He is racing against the very concept of exclusivity in Formula One. In doing so, he is forcing fans, teams, and rivals to rethink what loyalty and rivalry even mean. So let's strip away the noise. At its core, this is the story of a world champion daring to do what no one else has done. Verstappen is stepping into Ferrari red not as an act of betrayal, but as an act of defiance against the limits imposed by his own sport. It is shocking, it is controversial, and it is historic. And as he takes on the Nordschleife, the question we must all ask is this the beginning of a new chapter for Verstappen, or the moment Formula One itself realizes that its superstars are bigger than the rules written to contain them? This is not a sideshow. This is the scandal that could redefine the future. The confirmation hit like a thunderclap. Max Verstappen, the man who has defined the last era of Formula One, will climb into a Ferrari 296 GT3 and take on the most unforgiving circuit in the world, the Nürburgring Nordschleife. This is not gossip whispered in the paddock. This is official, sanctioned, and already sending shockwaves across the sport. For Ferrari fans, it is a dream they never dared to imagine, seeing the reigning world champion wear red, even if not in Formula One. For Red Bull fans, it is something closer to heresy, a visual contradiction that unsettles the established order. One of the greatest drivers alive, racing for the rival that Red Bull has fought tooth and nail for over a decade. It sounds like fantasy, but this is real, and it is happening in 2025. To understand the scale of this, you need to appreciate how rare it is for active Formula One drivers to venture into other racing categories. The risks are enormous: injury, distraction, and contractual complications. The unwritten rule has always been that Formula One comes first, everything else a distant second. Yet Verstappen is not just breaking the rule, he is rewriting it. He is not taking on some quiet exhibition race, tucked away in the off-season. He is entering Ferrari machinery, in public, during the heart of his Red Bull reign. That is what makes this more than news. It makes it scandal. It forces us to rethink the balance of power between drivers and the sport itself. And then comes the paradox that fuels this entire story. Ferrari, Red Bull's most historic and symbolic rival, is the stage for Verstappen's latest adventure. Remember, this is the same Ferrari that Verstappen has repeatedly crushed in title battles, the same Ferrari that once tried to lure him away, the same Ferrari that defines Formula One's legacy. Now, for one weekend, Verstappen will carry their badge, drive their car, and chase glory under their name. The contradiction is delicious. Fans are torn between excitement and disbelief. Is this Verstappen paying tribute to Ferrari's heritage? Is it him flexing his influence by doing the unthinkable? Or is it simply Max being Max, restless, fearless, and unwilling to be chained by old rivalries? The beauty is that it can be all three at once. The final twist in this revelation is not just about Verstappen's choice, it is about timing. He is not at the twilight of his career, chasing side projects. He is at his peak, four-time world champion, still dominating Formula One, still under long-term contract with Red Bull. That is why this decision hits harder than any other driver cameo outside Formula One. When Fernando Alonso or Sebastian Vettel dabbled in endurance tests, they were at crossroads in their careers. Verstappen is not. He is cemented at the top, and yet he still craves challenge. The message is unmistakable. Verstappen is not content with conquering Formula One. He wants to conquer racing itself, in all its forms, and he is willing to wear Ferrari red to do it. For all his glory in Formula One, Max Verstappen could not simply walk into the Nordschleife and strap himself into a Ferrari GT3. To race on the green hell, there are rules, and even a four-time world champion is not exempt. The German Motorsport Authority requires a special license, the DMSB Permit A, to compete in GT3 machinery on that track. It is a system designed to protect both drivers and the circuit's fearsome reputation. And so Verstappen had to start again, as if he were an apprentice. Written exams tested his knowledge of the Nordschleife's 154 corners, its unique safety zones, and its brutal demands. But theory alone was not enough. He had to prove himself in competition, behind the wheel of a car far less powerful than the monsters he tames every weekend in Formula One. That car was a Porsche Cayman GT4, restricted by regulations to a level of performance laughably low for someone of Verstappen's caliber. Imagine a fighter pilot being asked to earn his wings again by flying a glider. This was a humbling test, one that stripped away his aura and forced him to grind for legitimacy like every other driver. Verstappen could have sulked, could have dismissed the process as beneath him. Instead, he embraced it. He admitted with a smile, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you drive around the Nordschleife, it's always fun when you push to the limit. That is the language of a true racer, someone who sees joy in the act of driving itself, whether in a 1,000 horsepower Red Bull RB21 or a Cayman fighting for scraps. The symbolism deepened when Verstappen prepared for his first Ferrari GT3 tests. To avoid attention, he registered under the pseudonym Franz Hermann. He joked later that he chose the most German name possible, but the alias carried meaning. For once, Verstappen was not the untouchable champion. He was another name on a long list of drivers trying to survive the Nordschleife's brutality. Yet even hidden, even disguised, talent revealed itself. During those private tests, Verstappen unofficially broke the GT3 lap record, clocking a time under 7 minutes and 49.578 seconds. It was proof, if anyone doubted it, that the Dutchman's speed is universal. Formula One, GT3, it makes no difference. Verstappen adapts, conquers, and dominates. The permit process had tried to humble him. Instead, it gave him another stage on which to demonstrate exactly why he is the most complete driver of his generation. In Formula One, the idea of a world champion driving for a rival brand is usually unthinkable. Contracts are iron cages stuffed with exclusivity clauses that bind drivers to their team's sponsors, their partners, even their lifestyle choices. And yet, in 2025, Red Bull has torn up the script. They did not just tolerate Max Verstappen's Ferrari adventure, they endorsed it. Helmut Marko, the Austrian architect behind Red Bull's dynasty, confirmed the team gave full approval. Why? Because Verstappen has become bigger than the paperwork. He is not simply their driver, he is the centerpiece of their empire. And when your empire rests on one man's shoulders, you keep him happy, even if that means letting him wear Ferrari red on a rival stage. What makes this decision staggering is the symbolism. Ferrari has been Red Bull's eternal rival, the red shadow always haunting their quest for dominance. To see their star driver, in whom they have invested hundreds of millions, stepping into a Ferrari cockpit could have been perceived as betrayal. But Red Bull saw something else. They saw opportunity. This is a new philosophy of driver management, loyalty not enforced by chains, but earned through trust. Marko's message was clear: Red Bull is secure enough in its relationship with Verstappen to let him explore. In an era where most teams would suffocate their champions with legal threats, Red Bull is writing a new playbook: freedom as a weapon of retention. And the freedom is not symbolic. Red Bull has already confirmed that Verstappen will return to the Nordschleife in 2026 for the full 24-hour race. It will slot neatly between the Miami and Canada Grands Prix, leaving no clash with his Formula One duties. That is not a casual allowance, that is planning, integration, and long-term support. It proves Red Bull has gone beyond tolerating this adventure. They are helping to build it. It is a staggering shift in priorities, a Formula One team supporting its champion in a Ferrari project, knowing full well the headlines it creates. The message is unmistakable. Max Verstappen is not just Red Bull's driver. He is Red Bull's partner. And in that dynamic, it is no longer the team dictating to the driver. It is the driver shaping the future of the team. Contracts in Formula One are not written in pencil, they are etched in iron. For decades, drivers have been bound by exclusivity clauses that forbid them from even glancing at rival brands, let alone driving them. Yet Max Verstappen has found a way to bend that iron without breaking it. His long-term deal with Red Bull, which stretches until 2028, is structured in a way few in the paddock had ever imagined. The famous performance exit clauses that once gave him leverage over Red Bull, allowing him to walk away if he dropped out of the championship's top three, were neutralized when Verstappen mathematically secured his position by mid-2025. Instead of restricting him, that security gave him breathing space. The paradox is striking: the tighter Red Bull's grip on Verstappen's F1 future, the looser their control over his extracurricular ambitions. What this has created is unprecedented freedom for a modern champion. While rivals are still tethered by contracts that dictate every race they can or cannot enter, Verstappen is free to chase his passions. He can step into Ferrari red for endurance racing without breaching trust. He can plan for the Nürburgring 24 hours in 2026 without fear of punishment. And he can do so while remaining the immovable center of Red Bull's Formula One project. The contrast with past eras is staggering. Imagine Michael Schumacher in the late 1990s, being granted permission by Ferrari to race for McLaren in sports cars. Unthinkable. Yet in 2025, Verstappen has pulled off the modern equivalent. It is not just a legal breakthrough, it is a cultural one. This freedom has also reshaped the balance of power within Red Bull itself. Earlier this year, the future of Helmut Marko was questioned, and for a moment, Verstappen's contract contained a loyalty clause that could have allowed him to walk away if his mentor departed. That crisis has since stabilized, with Marko reaffirmed at the helm. But the episode showed how tightly Verstappen's career and Red Bull's fate are interwoven. It is a partnership, not a dictatorship. Verstappen does not serve the team blindly, he negotiates, influences, and now dictates parts of his destiny. If the Ferrari GT3 project proves successful, it will not only be a milestone in Verstappen's career. It will stand as a case study in how modern Formula One drivers can carve out contractual independence in a sport that once prided itself on suffocating control. The Ferrari 296 GT3 is a completely different beast from the RB21 that Verstappen commands every other weekend. In Formula One, he drives a machine of surgical precision, just under 1,000 horsepower delivered through a hybrid power unit, supported by DRS energy recovery systems, and the most advanced aerodynamics on Earth. The Ferrari 296 GT3 strips all that away. It is powered by a 3-liter twin-turbo V6 producing around 600 horsepower, sometimes cut to as little as 350 under balance of performance rules. It weighs nearly double what an F1 car does, its aerodynamics are blunt by comparison, and its handling is raw, demanding, and often unpredictable. In short, it is a car that punishes arrogance and rewards adaptability. And Verstappen is stepping into it with no excuses, no shortcuts, and no safety net of technology. For Verstappen, this is not about speed in a straight line, it is about rediscovering the essence of driving. In Formula One, races last no more than 2 hours, and strategy is as much about data analysis as driver instinct. In GT3, and particularly on the Nordschleife, everything changes. Tires must be managed over long stints, brakes must survive relentless pounding, and drivers must adapt to track conditions that shift every few minutes across 20 kilometers of forest. There is no magic button to open a rear wing, no hybrid boost to mask mistakes. It is man and machine, stripped to fundamentals. This is why Verstappen's choice matters. It proves he is not simply chasing more trophies in Formula One, he is chasing mastery of the sport itself, in every form it takes. And then there is the symbolism of Ferrari. For years, Verstappen has been the man who broke Ferrari hearts, the rival who denied them title dreams, the driver they could never lure away. Now, for the first time, he will strap into one of their machines, not as a Formula One driver but as a Ferrari racer. The 296 GT3 will carry not only the prancing horse badge but also Verstappen's own branding and even Red Bull's colors, creating a surreal fusion of identities that no fan could have predicted. This is not just about driving a different car. It is about bridging worlds that were once kept apart. Ferrari, Red Bull, Verstappen, 3 names that symbolized rivalry, now sharing one story. And that story begins in the Green Hell, where Verstappen must prove he can conquer not just Formula One, but the raw brutality of endurance racing,